This is an Airline amp whose model number has way too many digits for me to remember. It's obviously going to be in the description of this thing and the title. It's essentially the same thing as a Silvertone 1472. Different inputs. Other than that, it's pretty much the same circuit. I'm going to start down here at the tremolo end. So all film caps, those old green caps, have been replaced by Mallory 150Ms. This resistor is a 330K. It had gone. This is how this tube is biased between this tube from the B plus. I'm sorry, this resistor from the B plus, and this resistor here going to ground. Both supposed to be 330K. This one was measuring 820K. It had drifted terribly, so a new 1 watt carbon film there, and the tremolo works well, as you'll hear. It doesn't go very slow, but it is working as designed. They used a 1 meg speed pot as opposed to the 3 meg you get in Fenders. As a result, it just doesn't go as slow as a Fender. But I'm not asked to, wasn't tasked with making this the world's best amp. I was just making this old Airline work again. You can see here I reversed the connections to the fuse holder because they had the hot on the inner one and the output on this one here, and that's dangerous when you change fuses if the amp's not unplugged. So that's all been fixed. Let me show you the other end of things. Again, all the film caps, all the green ones, were replaced because this amp had very low gain. A lot of these resistors had drifted wildly. These are the plates and cathodes for V1, very crucial. Everything here for V2 is okay, except for the green caps that were weak. And here, these are the grid leak bias resistors that were going to this strip over here. The original resistors were long enough. The ones that were in there were replacements that weren't long enough. They just had a kind of janky bit of wire connecting them. And it meant that those two resistors were being run right over and across the output cathode resistor, which gets very hot. I didn't think that was very good. So this doesn't look that great, but it is very stable. There's no real mass there. This is a very solid little bit of construction so that these resistors are not nestled up against this hot bias resistor, and a new bias bypass cap there. The old one was just kind of tack soldered in. This one has some mechanical connections, so that doesn't get lost. And the result of doing all that is the amp, which was really anemic, no longer is. That's the same on both channels. The tone control on this amp is a passive tone control, much like you'd find in a guitar. It just rolls off highs, does not make it bright like on a 5E3 Deluxe. This circuit is essentially that of the 5E3 Deluxe in many ways. One little difference in how the cathodion is wired and the cap values are different. The volume controls are wired differently, and it doesn't. As far as this part of the conversation goes, it doesn't get bright as you turn the tone up. So neutral is all the way up 5 o'clock on the tone control. As you turn it down, that's all the way off. Noon. And full up. And the tremolo works just fine, as I said. That's slowest speed. Fastest speed. Like many cathode bias trims, there's some thump at the fastest speeds if the intensity's up, so you just turn the intensity down until you don't hear the thump. So unless the owner wants me to do further things like replace input jacks with jacks that shunt to ground when nothing's plugged in so you don't get hum on unused channels, or make one of the channels brighter than the other, or do the 5A3 tone circuit where it can get, noon is neutral, above noon it gets bright. The amp is essentially done. The other big thing that I did, which is pretty crucial, is the heater wires for the preamp were just run through everything and up against grids. So I put in new heater wires for the preamp stages here and dressed away from all the grid stuff, and moved this grid connection from looping around this way to here, so it's not even coming close to the heater stuff. And the tube that was in V2 was a Mullered reissue tube, a Russian tube, and the Russian tubes have odd cathodes handling. They don't like being in either a cathode follower stage, which this kind of is, as it's a cathodine phase inverter, but they also don't like having unbypassed cathode resistors. So I've got a Timpton JJ. I'm going to have to get the owner another tube there. I probably will be a JJ or a Chinese tube amp doctor or JJ. So the amp will sound like this. There's a little bit of hum there. It's just because I'm sitting. There's more. There's less. It's because I'm sitting with the pickups 2 feet from the transformers. So next I just got to see how the speaker sounds. All right, missing hardware replaced that holds the speaker. All the other hardware tightened. All the buzzes and rattles are gone. It all fits flush in the cabinet now. Remember when this first came in, it wouldn't go in all the way because this was mounted too high, et cetera, et cetera. The first couple videos on this amp are linked in the description below if you want to go back and watch the whole process. But now it's sounding quite nice. Very much of its period. I've got to go to the hardware store and get 4 new screws to hold this in place because the originals are long gone. The replacements which were going into here were much shorter. This whole thing was at the wrong angle, and I need to get the right, looks like number 8 sheet metal screws, about 3/4 of an inch long. So that's pretty easily done. I think this amp came out well. I've got to do its brother, the one which is actually labeled Silvertone.